On paper, a show like Stirp Law really shouldn't work. Take every raunchy stereotype about Las Vegas, mix in a multitude of tropes from lawyer shows, and take full advantage of being an adult animated series on Netflix. Sure, you might get some funny bits here and there, but for the most part, it sounds like a recipe for something dumb, shallow, and forgettable. If you just saw the trailer, you'd be forgiven for thinking this show is just Netflix pandering to the Adult Swim crowd. But if you actually gave it a chance, and I'm talking all 10 episodes of the first season, you might feel what I felt. Because even though I had low expectations for the show, it ended up being, well, not great, but surprisingly good. Hello everyone, I'm Jack Fisher and welcome to my world. And when it comes to adult animation, it's very hit or miss. When it does hit, it's incredible. Shows like BoJack Horseman, Daria, and Bob's Burgers can resonate with people in a way that you just can't get in any other medium. But when it fails, it's not just bad. It's a complete waste of creative energy that can never be recovered. Given all the time and resources that goes into animation, that is not a trivial loss. And Netflix has been on both ends of that dynamic. On one hand, it gave us an incredible show like BoJack Horseman, and on the other, it gave us an unrefined turd sandwich like Captain Fall. And, I'm not gonna lie, when I first saw the trailer for Stirp Law, it reminded me a bit too much of Captain Fall. It presents us with this chaotic world of deviance and decadence, taking every Las Vegas trope to an extreme. Every character seems to lean into those extremes, be they crooked lawyers, obnoxious tourists, and cheating grifters. And at the center of it all is Lincoln Gum, an aspiring lawyer with mommy issues, inferiority complex, and every disadvantage imaginable. Having never been one for lawyer shows to begin with, I was fully prepared to skip Stirp Law entirely. But I gave it a chance. And I'm genuinely glad I did, because this show impressed me in ways I didn't expect. The very first episode does plenty to set the tone. Stirp Law takes full advantage of being animated, giving us a version of Las Vegas that makes The Hangover look tame by comparison. There's plenty of sin, decadence, and debauchery, but there's also a lot of weird and wacky laws intended to govern it all. Naturally, you need lawyers to help make sense of it, and judges to make rulings. Lincoln Gum, voiced by Adam Scott, had a front row seat to this spectacle. His late mother Marcia was a partner at Nichols & Gum. Together, with the charismatic and well-groomed Steve Nichols, voiced by Keith David, they were one of the most respected firms in Vegas. But after Marcia's death, Nichols took over the firm, kicked Lincoln to the curb, and forced him to start from scratch. And this is where Stirp Law could have really gone off the rails. Because Lincoln Gum initially carries himself as a total pushover. He prefers doing things by the book. He's generally upstanding and good-natured. And most of the people who deal with him find him bland and boring. He's the kind of character who really walks a fine line. He's either going to be a lovable underdog or just another inept loser. But this show manages to avoid that. It does not let Lincoln fall into a recurring pattern of failure, regression, or false hope. In his very first case on his own, in which he represents a group of male strippers suing the city for some hilariously unreasonable expectations, he tries that diligent approach. And, not surprisingly, it doesn't work. The fact that his opposing counsel is Steve Nichols only makes that sting a lot harder. His co-worker, Glenn Blorchman, voiced by Stephen Root, isn't that much help. He's more of a hilarious distraction on what happens when a shady lawyer with a gambling problem has too much free time. And his teenage niece, Irene Gum, can only do so much to support him, mostly because she's a teenager, and her choice of influences are questionable to say the least. But then, Lincoln meets Sheila Flambe. Voiced by Janelle James, she, more than any other character, steals the show in Stirp Law. She's a magician and a street performer. She has no license or experience practicing law, but she has ample experience with Las Vegas. She understands the city, its spirit, and all the crazy people who flock there. She also understands spectacle. She knows how to capture an audience's attention and weaponize it if necessary. As a partner and a foil, she couldn't be more different than Lincoln. But together, they still managed to build this powerful dynamic. With Sheila's sense of flair and Lincoln's legal expertise, they don't just put on a show in the courtroom. They actually win. They even managed to take Steve Nichols down a peg, something he does plenty to deserve over the course of the series. That first win doesn't make Lincoln a successful lawyer all at once, but it does show that he's capable of winning despite the odds being stacked against him. He's even capable of channeling that Las Vegas spirit thanks to Sheila's influence. This plays out in all sorts of weird ways over the course of multiple episodes. Lincoln and Sheila don't win all the time, but they don't lose either. They're still a struggling upstart law firm, and they still deal with some hilariously unusual clients, from a wannabe cult leader to guys who want to sue their own penis. Every case presents Lincoln and Sheila with strange circumstances, and the way they navigate it is often vulgar and messy, but at the same time, it's oddly appropriate for Las Vegas. Along the way, Lincoln undergoes his share of growth. After the first episode, he's got a foundation to build on. He has a supportive partner in Sheila. But he also has a lot of personal issues, mostly stemming from the death of his mother, as well as the harsh realization that she was not a very good parent. Coming to terms with that is something he eventually has to confront, and that makes him a better lawyer and a better character in the end. But beyond Lincoln's personal issues, there isn't much growth for anyone else. This is where the neon lights start to dim and Stirp Law eventually hits a ceiling. Because every other character in the show doesn't really have an arc. Sheila does get some backstory in one episode, and Glenn does have a few enemies from his past that end up coming after him, but none of these details really develop the characters in any meaningful sense. They just reinforce their personality quirks. It certainly helps that they're funny at times. Glenn's antics, which rarely affect the main plot, make for some of the best moments in the show. He and Irene are really the perfect chaos duo. They both personify the unique weirdness you can only find in a place like Las Vegas. But aside from their cartoonish antics, there's not much else in terms of depth. Very little changes in terms of how Glenn, Irene, Sheila, and Lincoln relate to one another. Nothing ever gets too serious or heavy. There's no larger message about lawyers, Las Vegas, or the many imperfections of the justice system. And anytime there is something at stake, be it a case they need to win or a commercial they have to make, the tone remains the same. Now that works for the most part because Stirp Law is, at its core, a satirical comedy. Las Vegas and lawyers are just the mechanism. And to that end, the show does succeed, but beyond that, it doesn't achieve anything else. The characters are likable for the most part. The world around them complements the comedy and the overall plot. But outside of Lincoln Gum, there's not much else that's noteworthy. That still counts as a success in my opinion. Stirp Law was never billed as the next BoJack Horseman. Show creator Colin Crawford simply took familiar lawyer tropes and gave them a Las Vegas touch. I can't say it raised the bar for adult animation as a whole, but I can say, beyond a reasonable doubt, that this show worked. But what do you think of Stirp Law? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Do you think my take is dead wrong? Please make your case in the comments. Thanks for watching, everyone, and thanks for joining me in my world. Please remember to like and subscribe, and until next time, take care and stay safe.